Hi students, today I am going to discuss the authentication functions. So authentication functions, what is an authentication? We know that in the public key cryptography it derives the two types of messages. One is an authenticated message and second one is the secrecy message. So what the authentication message? If the sender uses his private key in the encryption, then the authentication message was generated. So what the authentication is nothing but it identifies the valid user. So when the communication is taken place in the network. So coming to this particular, so any message authentication or digital signature mechanism has to the two levels of the functionality. So at the lower level and the higher level. So what the lower level is nothing but the lower level must be some sort of functions that produces an authenticator. So a value to the used the authenticated messages. And similarly, the lower function is then used as a primitive in a high level authentication protocol that enables a receiver to verify the authentication of the messages. Now coming to there are three types of authenticated messages are there. The one is the message encryption, and second one is the message authentication codes, that is MAC, and third one is the hash function. So what the message encryption is nothing but the ciphertext of the entire message serve as its authenticator. That means whatever the user can prepare the ciphertext message, so whatever the key is used. Now we know that there are two keys are identified or the used in the total cryptography. One is the conventional crypto system and second one is the public key crypto system. So the message encryption, in the sense whatever the encryption pattern we can generate that particular ciphertext. That ciphertext message can produces as its authenticator. That means the entire ciphertext of the message can produces as its authenticator. And the second one is the message authentication codes. What the MAC function is nothing but a function of the message, a public function of a message and a secret key that can produces a fixed length value which serve as its authenticator. So simply the MAC is implemented the two concept. The first one is a public function and second concept is the secret key. So both can be combined and produces a fixed length value which serve as its authenticator. That is the MAC function. And what the third authentication function is nothing but hash function. What the hash function is nothing but a public function which maps a message in any length into a fixed length value which serve as its authenticator. That means here there is no key actually. A public function which is derived by the hash function, a public function which maps a message in any length into a fixed length hash value which serve as its authenticator. Now we are going to discuss in detail of the each and every authentication functions. Now what the first authentication function is the message encryption. Now go to the message encryption. So now you can observe here the source and destination parties. The source can take the message M. The message can encrypted with the single key, that is the K. So that key is encrypted with the message. So the ciphertext message can distribute it to the destination. What the message is? So here EK of M. E is the encryption, K is the key, and of message, whatever the original message. So simply the user sends the encrypted message with the single key is operated. Now you know that this is the symmetric encryption, confidentiality and authentication, because only the single key can be operated on both sides of the encryption and decryption. So that message is nothing but the symmetric encryption message. So the user A prepared that message to encrypt with the key. So here you can observe the single key can be operated on both sides of the message users. So user A use the same key K, the same key is used by the destination party. So this is the conventional cryptography. So this is the ciphertext of the entire message, that is EK of M is entire message can produces as its authenticator. And second one, we know that the public key cryptography. In the public key cryptography, we know that two types of messages are generated. So the first one is the authenticated message and second one is the secret message. Now you can observe in the second diagram. So that is a public key encryption to provide the confidentiality. It is provide the confidentiality. When it provides the confidentiality, if the sender uses the recipient's public key in the encryption. That's why here you can use the PUB. PUB is denoted the public key of the user B. So that user B's public key can be encrypted with the message M. So that ciphertext can produces as its authenticator. So here whatever the message is prepared, that is EPUB of M. So that is the confidential message. Why it will be called as confidential message? Only the recipient can decrypt that message, because of he knows only his private key. He cannot distribute his private key to anybody else. That's why that message can be taken as the confidential message. And the second message is, now you can observe in the third diagram, this is the second message of the public key cryptography. So what the message is nothing but this is the authenticated message. What the authenticated message? The sender can use his private key in the encryption, then that message becomes to the authenticated message. Now this authenticated message serve as its authenticator, because of so the message can be encrypted, the decrypted by the user B, because with the help of the user C public key. So here both message can be generated at a same time. You can see the fourth diagram. In this fourth diagram you can be observed. So the two users can generate two types of encrypted message and two types of decrypted message. Now you can observe the user A can generate both confidential message and secret message, authenticated message. How he can generate the confidential message? With the help of the users B public key. How he can generate the authenticated message? The sender uses his private key in the encryption. So that means here you can observe in the last one. So the public key encryption, confidentiality and the authentication can be generated in the single manner. So that means the user first he encrypted the message, his private key, then that message is the authenticated message, and again that message can be encrypted by the B's public key in the encryption. Then finally one message can be generated. You can see this is a final message. This final message can be produces as its authenticator. So this is the first concept, that is the message encryption. What the message encryption is nothing but the entire ciphertext which can produces as its authenticator. So the ciphertext can be used in the two types of the keys. One is the conventional key and second one is the public key. In the conventional key only the single key can be operated on both sides of the users, and in the public key, so the two keys are generated, the public key. That means in the public key concept we know that each and the user can generate the pair of keys. So the pair of key is generated by the user A, pair of key generated by the user B. So out of the pair of keys they can distribute their public keys and they can keep up their private keys. That's why here the authenticated message was generated and the confidential message was generated. So those two messages are generated separately and those two messages are generated and at one level. So this is nothing but the message encryption. In the next video I am going to explain what is a message authentication codes and what is an hash function.